What is the crack, everyone? B2B Sports, we are back. Been a bit of a break, but we're here.
Oh,
Sam is here,
we're back in business.
back in business. I don't know if we're calling this season 4 or a little bit of a special, or if we're doing episodes or seasons anymore, but we're back anyway. Um, this episode we're going to be talking cricket, specifically the Ashes. All 5 Test matches have just wrapped up. We're reflecting and digesting the madness of the past 6 weeks and what's happened. How would you describe this Ashes series, Sam? Like, it's been a madness, mate.
It has been madness. I think slightly frustrating.
Yeah, you say that.
I don't think there's been a more exciting test series for a while.
Also, arguably since 2005, everyone,
Yeah.
there were so many similarities of this series to 2005. Everyone said it on commentary.
Mm.
There's so many, so many moments that were so similar. And
Yeah.
it was crazy, like absolutely crazy.
It was definitely, I think every day was good to watch.
Mhm.
I think the only day that wasn't particularly good to watch was the day when Australia didn't lose a wicket.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that was it. That was the
On
only
the way to
boring day.
Manchester. So
Yeah, the day in Manchester was shit. But everything up to that point was great in Manchester.
yeah,
That's what one of the leading causes of the frustration is that one game was rained out because it would be nice to have had a winner. Because I think that's the thing, especially with this English style of cricket, there is always probably going to be a winner.
yeah. Hardly ever there's going to be a draw. It's always
I
going to go
think
down as a result.
I think that was like the third draw we've had in like 17 tests or something.
Yeah,
Um, so that's what I like about it. You're not always getting these like 2-1 or 1-0 series wins, or you're going to get results out of every game. Hopefully, if weather stays good. So, I think that's what made it exciting. I know Manchester, because it was the middle one, it kind of takes the wind out your sails, or not the middle one, second to last one. Especially with a comeback, and I think it would have been a comeback. I think we would. I think we were going to win that
yeah.
Manchester
We're in a
test.
good position.
Um, but yeah, it's a shame, but I think it was a good, well fought series. And we should have done better in the first 2 tests.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
I think we missed out on too many opportunities in those first 2 tests. And I think obviously we were absolutely everyone was rimming Johnny Bairstow.
Mhm.
He did play well. His keeping in the first 4 tests, I
He
think, worth
improved.
respect.
Yeah, in the first 2, I think in particular, were just so
Yeah,
catches, man.
and
So
it wasn't his best look. Which is a shame because he is a good wicket keeper. But I think because there are better English wicket keepers, that was the frustration. But you can't guarantee that the other wicket keepers would do as well as him with the bat. I
no,
know Folks is also a good batsman, but Johnny Bairstow does pull out of the bag with his batting sometimes,
yeah.
and he shows that.
When he gets
Yeah,
going, he's unreal.
and that's
I
why
think
like he used to open the ODI batting with either like
Jason.
Roy or Jason Moy. Like there's reasons he's picked for his batting because he's good at it and he suits this baseball, which
Mhm.
I think is probably why they had kept him for the whole thing.
I think for me, what made this series so interesting was the complete contrast in styles. You've got Bazball
Mm.
on one hand, gung ho, you get runs as quickly as possible, very attacking bowling, try and get the edge all the time, and then you've got Australia, which is very orthodox, very patient, take your time, traditional Test match cricket, line and length. And the clashes of styles, that's what made this Test match. Like, if you know, if there was a team like England, there's no way these Test matches would have gone the full
Finished.
5 days. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was Australia's style, which arguably could say made these Test matches close as well at the end. We've had a few run chases at the end, a few close finishes, and I think that's what made it so special, the clashes style and
Yeah.
how those teams operated.
And I think it also showed that Australia showed that the old way isn't a bad way.
No, not at
Like it
all.
still works. And it can beat this way of playing cricket. And I think that it did mean that we were constantly getting fifth day like showdowns.
Yeah, 100%.
Like you see Kawaja getting most runs in the series, but like twice as many balls as Zach Crawley, which is insane. But like you said, it was just excitement all the way. I kind of want there to be another Ashes series next year.
Me too, man. Me
It's
too.
annoying we have to wait till like December 2025.
Is it 4 or 5? I can't remember. It must
Must
be
be
5.
5, 24 next year. So it's yeah, it's 2 years away. But in like December, January, because it's obviously it's in Australia.
It's so annoying. I've written some notes about, the key points in each test match. I'll just go run through them, like the actual craziness of what happened. So the first test was Edgbaston.
Yeah.
Atmosphere was rocking, especially in the Holly stand. Proper Ashes cricket, everyone, the chants were going. Australia were getting hammered by everyone. And then, so the first ball,
Yeah.
Pat Cummins to Zach Crawley smashes it for 4, and that just set the tone for, I think, the whole series. Really,
Yeah.
such a good start. What was your take on that first ball?
I think just number one, Zach Crawley hitting it for and it kind of carrying on all right. That was the main thing. The fact that he wasn't 4 and out. But
Yeah,
yeah, like I said, it set the tone for how England wanted to play this game. Um,
and he has been under pressure as an opening
yeah,
batsman.
hugely. He has struggled to open the batting. He's never really been able to carry on with a good start. He'll get to his 20s and get out. And he did start a bit like that. He normally made a good start and got out.
Hmm.
Um, but I think it was a good way to start the first test, and I think it made everyone realize that this is how we're going to play, no matter what.
I think following after that, in the first innings for England, Joe Root made 118 not out. I think that
Yeah.
was when he tried to reverse. Was it reverse ramp? Is that the term now that everyone's using?
Well, what he does, he like scoops it, but the
Tried
like,
to
yeah,
scoop it. I think it was like the first day of the second, like the first ball of the second day or something like that. Tried
yeah,
to reverse ramp it for 6, missed it, and I think
and it
he
missed the stump not by much, and they did it again.
did it again. I was like, oh my god, Joe, you absolute ballsy human. But yeah, 118 not out, and this was the controversial declaration on 393 for 8. Joe Root was still in. I think he had a lower order batsman. I can't remember who it was. Maybe Ollie Robson in with him. But do you think we should have declared? Because that is classic Bazball up until that point. We were declaring on high 300s,
Yeah.
getting the opposition in the last half hour of the day, taking a couple of quick wickets. That was Bazball's, routine at that point. So do you think
Mm.
it was right in hindsight of declaration?
I was surprised that they did it, but I mean, they put trust in their bowlers. I don't think they picked the right bowlers for the first test for it. I don't know how fit, obviously, Woody was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think we weren't expecting our bowlers to fall kind of as flat as they did on the second day.
Yeah,
Um, but I don't particularly mind. Like 390 odd I think that was probably is
huge
that
score.
is that the second highest score of the series of the whole series?
I think it might have been. Yeah,
Because it was well up there. And like that would be a no if we'd carried on the series and just declared it that would be quite a good total to declare on. I think just because it was so early, it caught everyone off guard
yeah,
because
100%.
Australia have 4 days to get that now.
100.
So I don't think it was a bad idea. I just think Australia played well. I think they definitely deserved to win that first match.
Yeah, and played well. They did. I think in that after we declared, Usman Khawaja got 141,
Yeah,
which put them in a huge. They made a huge total by themselves, and then it went down to the last day where Pat Cummins and Nathan Lyon completed a run chase with 27 balls to go. That was frustrating from an England point of view because we just couldn't get them out, and
no,
they were hitting the ball all over the park, but we just couldn't get that wicket. And fair play, Pat Cummins proper stepped up as a captain, and then yeah, as Sam said, they got the win in that first Test match.
yeah. And I honestly think Pat Cummins is one of the better Test captains. Like he can, is kind of knowledge is second to none. His tactics are pretty decent.
But he came into some pressure though for being
Yeah,
too defensive almost at times, allowing
yeah,
the quick single, I suppose. But
yeah. But I like the way like he's straight to the point. He'll answer like, "Do you think that's the right
yeah,
thing to do?" And he's like, "Yeah,
yeah,
trusted it." He's never second guessed it. And his batting is second to none. Honestly, he's one of the best kind of bowling
yeah,
batters in cricket.
it's
He's
true.
quite commonly getting like 30 odd runs
Yeah,
from that
exactly.
position. And I think that's when your captain can get your 5 wickets and also add 30 runs as a number 8.
Hmm.
You're playing winning cricket.
He's a world class bowler. No,
Yeah.
no way around it. He's a world class bowler, and he's doing bits with the bat as well. But plus, when you got the pressure of trying to captain the side, that's such a difficult combination to try and balance. And I think he did it well. I think he got a bit of flack from Australian press. I think maybe they're seeing the contrasting styles from Ben Stokes to Pat Cummins, and maybe they
Yeah.
want him to be a bit more like Ben Stokes. But you can't knock him. I think
Yeah.
he's had a good series for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
And they won the Test Championship and then and then retained the Ashes. I think it is a successful
can't
tour.
complain. Moving on to the second test at Lords. This is when things started to get spicy, very spicy on one of the slowest, deadest tracks
Yeah.
ever. Obviously, England brought in Josh Tongue for this test match, who was probably the pick of the bowlers for England, to be
Yeah.
honest. He did really well. I think Steve Smith, sorry, made a good contribution in the first innings. He got 110. I think that helped Australia to 416, which was a good score for them. But ultimately, I think the short ball tactics caused so many issues for both sides. I think this was like when they couldn't get anyone out going line and length, they just chucked in a short ball, and it
Yeah.
just seemed to work like every time.
Um,
It was stupid.
so it was a weird test. I think obviously the big controversies in that test
Yeah.
come obviously to England and Bairstow, and whether that was. I don't understand this in the spirit of the game because I think it in the spirit of the game it works both ways. Um, what do you think about the stumping?
Obviously, got a bit of England bias in there, but I don't think that was out. Like he shouldn't have gone for Alex Carey. Let's be real.
Yeah,
He it was the end of the over. He stood for a brief moment in his crease and then walked out to the middle to go fist bump. I can't remember who it was. Ben Stokes at the other end,
I think it
and
was.
Alex Carey sneakily lobbed the ball at the stumps and got him run out. But I don't know. I think it was sneaky. If England were to do it, would you feel? How would you feel then? Would you feel
Exactly.
that's
I
the question?
mean, similar to the Ben Stokes in the last test with his catch, and he still reviewed it
Yeah,
despite
yeah,
very knowingly dropping it. Um, you would say that's against the spirit of the game in terms of if they deemed it to be a catch, then he would have got away with one. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think the rule was if it goes through the keeper and it's normally called a dead ball, it's not like as normal. But from the video, he does throw it pretty much straight away,
go away. Yeah,
looking to do it. I don't think there's a pause. I think just because he's, I mean, you wouldn't do it if you were playing against spin. You wouldn't walk out your crease that
no,
early. So
no,
I feel like just because he's 20 yards back, that you should walk out that. I don't think there's a need for it. And also, normally when the batters walk out into the middle, what's the point?
exactly. Yeah,
Why are
exactly.
they walking out to the middle? Obviously, it's the end of the over, and they're going to have a chat. But you just wait, wouldn't you, until at least if I think if the umpires had moved and were walking around, you'd understand. But I think in terms of the game, I think Carey did something a bit sneaky, but within the laws, and I feel like that's we kind of have to deal with that. And
Yeah,
Bairstow,
I
I think,
think. Sorry, I think you know. bearing in mind where England were at in that stage of the game, they were chasing they were chasing Australia. We needed a win, for to stay in the Ashes. Could still go 2-0 down like they did, but it was a pivotal point in the game. So I think that if it happened the first innings, I don't think it would have
No,
necessarily got the attention that it did.
no,
But
it was a
because it was,
pivotal moment.
yeah, and also, Australians are coming out and providing clips of Bairstow, when he's keeping, going through that sneaky throw, not hitting and not getting anyone out, but it's still attempting it. So they were saying, hang on, like, spirit of the game there. I don't know. It's a weird one. I think because I'm, an England fan, it sits on the bad side for me. But, you know, if he'd have just stayed in his crease for a couple of seconds longer and waited
Agreed.
for the umpire to signal the end of the over, then this wouldn't happen,
And we very much could have won that. Like they were both playing. Bairstow and Stokes were playing really well. We almost got that total. I think if Bairstow stayed in, we would have got those 40 runs from either him or Stokes there, and then get the rest of the runs from the rest of the team. So I think it definitely was the winning moment for Australia, because the rest of the other people that came in with Stokes kind of got rattled.
I kind of love
Uh,
that though, because it kind of took that moment for Ben Stokes to go, fuck it, I'm going.
yeah,
I'm going
and he
back to
properly went fuck
2019
it.
mode and just going like,
He properly went fuck it. I don't think I've ever seen anyone go from like 70 to 150 that quickly
so
in a
quickly.
test. It was ridiculous. It was he was the fact that he was able to do that consistently for that long. That was one of the best innings I've ever seen.
Unreal.
In the
Absolutely
test.
unreal. That
And
that
it,
was
and it leave.
that wasn't the only dramatic moment in that test. You had Mitchell Stark's catch of Ben
Yeah,
Duckett, which he caught and then sort of scraped along the floor, and it was deemed a catch. Everyone was like, "Okay, that's out," and then it got reviewed, and then Mitchell Stark seemed like the bad guy. Then you also had the drama at the long room in Lords. So
yeah,
the whole, you know, these whole members that have been members at Lords Cricket Club their whole life, Ponzi in their probably 70s, 80s,
yeah.
uh, have like an exec suite um, just right next to the pitch. Desmond Khawaja and the Australian team come through, and they get belted with abuse from these members, which is never been seen before
No,
ever.
and the fact that it's never been like I've never heard of it happening before is ridiculous when you think about it, because they're so close to them all the time. You think somebody would have hurled abuse by now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was crazy to see, and I'm glad it didn't come up to anything more, and it kind of did settle
No.
down. But I think the Australians handled it very well. I'm hoping the Lords handled it very well. I don't really know what happened if they banned anyone.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what happened, but I know that they were looking or potentially banning, or they found the people that were doing the abuse anyway. But I don't know what the exact punishment was.
No,
But I think
neither
this
do
was
I.
all after the Alex Carey incident. I think it all
Yeah,
escalated from that point.
I think so. And I feel bad for Alex Carey because he got booed every single
Oh.
time he either got the ball, came out. And I feel like that probably should have stopped after Lords because
Yeah, I did feel a little bit bad, and everyone was saying, like Ricky Ponting on Sky commentary was saying that Alex Carey's just a quiet lad who loves his cricket. It couldn't have happened to a nicer bloke. Do you know what I mean? And he did something in the moment that he thought was clever, but in England's backyard,
yeah,
you're gonna get abuse for that.
true.
Moving on to Test 3. This is in Leeds. Enter Mark Wood and Chris Wokes. Completely changed this series for England. I think Mark Wood got a 5-wicket haul in that first innings.
Yeah.
Incredible from them
I think
both.
it's first, is that the first like 4 over or 7 over stint. I went for like 2 runs or something, bowling 96 mile an hour balls. I think it rattled Australia in those first few
Oh,
overs.
100%. Because they were used to like low
85
80s,
miles an hour. Yeah.
low 80s from Ollie Robinson. You watching that ball easy, and you got 96 coming at you, 96 mile an
And
hour.
I think that's been the problem with our bowling attack in tests for a while now, is that a lot of our bowlers were the same. You got Jimmy Anderson coming in at 85 miles an hour. If he can swing it, it's insane. But if he doesn't, it's quite simple. Stuart Broad bowls around that number as well. Good line and length. You get Chris Wokes bowls around that number, can
Mhm.
swing it. Ollie Robinson, the exact same. And having somebody like Mark Wood who can absolutely just belt the ball at you. I think it's a big difference because I think they had 2 tests of getting their timing right.
Mhm.
I think that's another like he comes in and you have to try and hit the ball a lot quicker. Like 10 miles an hour quicker from a ball is ridiculous. So I don't know if that was a tactic. They were like, we'll leave you out for 2 tests and get them settled, and then we'll bring you in and you'll absolutely rattle them. Or if he was injured. But yeah, I think that it definitely changed the game.
Change the
Um,
dynamic of the series for sure. Bringing them
and I
in it.
think like Chris Wokes, absolutely insane that he is what 35 and hasn't been a test bowler for that long.
Yeah, I think Chris Wokes, I think he's suffered with injuries over the past couple of years. So he's been in and out of cricket, but you know, he is so underrated. It's unreal. He's got pace for, he's not Mark Wood quick, but he bowl consistently at mid 80s,
Yeah,
and he will swing the ball. He's got line and length. He's dead accurate,
yeah,
and he just seems to be there on the big occasion, and he can bat as well.
yeah,
So,
so well. He's such a good batter. Um, he's like in a way like that. Pat Cummins being able to do both so
yeah,
well is rare, and it's rare in Test cricket. I think that you get somebody who can do both. I think we probably missed Ben Stokes bowling a bit. If
yeah,
he
we
could have
did.
been
Yeah.
more, it would have been good. But yeah, Chris Wokes to change the whole dynamic of the Ashes really.
And you think
Um,
back to that first day, especially in Leeds, like that pitch was so green.
yeah,
Imagine Mark Hood bowling 96 mile an hour on a green wicket. Like,
he wouldn't have bounced. It would have just gotten stuck and slid straight into the stumps. Maybe that ball to root from was it Hazelwood? It literally went
yeah,
up like an inch.
and
So
wow,
I think it's a shame. You always think about what could have been in those first 2 tests if we had that team playing. And I think it's a shame because it really did. It turned it on its head because it allowed our batters to stay the same, kind of bat their way through, and our bowlers had a bit more dynamic bowling attack
yeah.
because everything was a bit different.
I think in this test too, Broad got Warner for the 17th time. Incredible scenes. Probably one of the most iconic, combinations.
Yeah,
Broad getting Warner, especially for on an England point of view. We touched on it earlier. There's quite a few drop catches on Johnny Bairstow's sort of part. Um, could we have had folks in better wicketkeeper for sure? He's still a good batsman, but I feel for Johnny. He's coming back from a serious injury. Like he probably was
yeah,
brought
big
back
injury.
side. Yeah, probably potentially never playing cricket ever again. That's
Yeah,
what he's looking at.
and the fact that he's come in and gone straight into the Ashes team is big. It's a big step. Um, I do think he got a lot of stick from those first three matches all the way until the end. I think the last test is the only test he really showed that he could do it all again.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think he he wasn't great in that test. To be fair, none of our bowlers really were.
no, no,
Was that the test that Root dropped 3?
I think so. Yeah, in the slip.
So I think our slip catching was a bit poor that day anyway. So it can't all be blamed on Johnny. But he did have a rough go of these first few tests. But
And
like I
then,
said, we were losing the first 2, so
exactly.
somebody got to blame, and he unfortunately got most of the brunt of it. And now we won 2 of them. You don't really hear about it anymore.
Exactly. It ended up in an England victory. Who else? Mark Wood and Wokes batting to complete the run chase. Nice 4 from Chris Wokes. Won England the game with 3 wickets to spare, which was a mad scenes. Then we go to Test 4, Manchester. It started so well.
Oh
Moeen
well.
Ali at 3, which was bonkers.
I still don't understand the decision. It's not even sure I'm happy that it happened, but it's just mental.
You got your Zach Crawley, 189 runs. What an innings.
Off that 190 balls as well, something ridiculous.
Absolutely incredible.
Um, and that's the Zach Crawley you want. I mean, I think that's the you got to have. He does have that kind of seesaw effect. He'll
Mhm.
either hit 180 off 180 balls, or he'll get 20
Yeah.
off like and set you up that way. So it's difficult to judge, especially like what day he's going to be on,
Yeah,
how
100%.
he's going to feel. So I'm glad he did it because it silenced a lot of haters and a lot of critics, and he definitely deserved it.
What a knock. That set England a huge total of 592
Yeah,
in their first innings. Annoyingly, Bairstow finished on 99 not out because
yeah,
Jimmy got out, which was
Lord Jimmy.
so frustrating. Um, but yeah, and then Australia moved into their second innings. We started really well. Stuart Broad took his 600th wicket. Incredible scenes. Um, Australia had a little bit of a fight back. Marnus Labuschagne had 111, but
Mm.
ultimately rain saved Australia in this one, and the match was drawn.
It did. It was frustrating having that much rain, and it was relentless. And even the Australians have said like it did probably save their uh,
Yeah.
their day. And it unfortunately it was just that kind of test where it allowed them to retain the Ashes. So it put a big dampener on it, I think.
Hmm.
Um,
No
and
pun
it
intended.
dampened on the series as well because it deserved 5 full tests. That's what you want. You want a deciding test. That's the point of having five.
Yeah. Would you agree that, I know in the World Test Championship they had an extra day, didn't they, for reserve rain day? Do you think that would work, or do you think that
I
it?
think it makes sense. I think it's silly to be like, we'll play this whole test, but 2 days were rained out, so we're actually not going to finish it.
Hmm.
And I think you should finish it. You should have maybe 1 or 2 days. So it's like the obviously the county championship is 4 days.
Hmm.
I feel like if that works and you get 2 innings each, and obviously there's quite a few draws in county
Yeah.
championship, but there's also a lot of big wins and stuff like that, and it makes you play a bit faster. It probably would. That's why baseball I think would help in that sense if you only had 4 days to
Yeah.
complete. Um, but yeah, I think there should be an extra day put in there.
Hmm.
Obviously, I'm saying that as an England fan, and it would have helped us maybe win that test. But I think it would help in general just to get those wins.
Even
And
if the
that's
shoe was on the other foot, I'd be happy that England retain the Ashes, but also I'll be a little bit miffed because you want to see the best play the best, don't you? You want to see the best outcome, and that
yeah.
fifth and final Test match, the decider, would have been epic to watch.
I don't think I've ever seen a decider test match like that. We've been 2-2 going to the last one. I think that would have been insane for the sport of cricket in general, but also for the players
Mhm.
and the fans. It would have been an absolutely insane last 5 days.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, Australia retained the Ashes. England could only draw the series if they were to win the fifth and
Yeah,
final test at the Oval. And it got off to a good start. Joe Root made an incredible slip catch um,
yeah,
from Mark Wood. Probably catch of the series for me. Incredible scenes. Obviously, you've got the Steve Smith run out incident that happened with Bairstow sort of, we did it.
yeah. I don't really understand that. But surely the ball was in his hands.
Is it is it the laws of the game? Well, it's so hard to define. Does he have control of the ball when the gloves are so big like this,
Yeah,
and he just hits the stumps with his glove? But like is it nestled in? Does that
I don't
count?
understand how you can say he doesn't have control when through the motion the ball's still in his hand the
Yeah.
whole time. But yeah, so I feel like I would have probably said that's a run out.
Hmm. It was
And I
so
quite,
close though. It was so
yeah,
close. Either way, it was so close.
I quite like how like Ponting was saying like you don't go for a quick single when the player you've hit it to is unknown and they run an 8 second 100 meters because of the obviously the famous him getting run out by the substitute fielder in the Ashes.
Love that.
Um, that was just great.
England set a huge second innings total of 395, which put Australia in a tough spot for their second innings, and it started off pretty well.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I mean. It's like the only day of the Ashes that was kind of bit boring because England did not play well, did not bowl well, and Australia just battered them around. I think it was 140 for none or something.
Something like that. Yeah, going into the last day, I was like, come
Yeah,
on, you can't, England, don't let this go now.
so stressful, so stressful. I think was it Wokes got nice quick wicket in the
Mhm.
morning, got David Warner. Khawaja went swiftly afterwards, I think.
Moeen Ali and Chris Wokes put in a good shift on that last day. The
And then
spin
it
that Moeen
rained.
Ali was getting.
Oh, wait, then it rained.
Hmm.
So like it was, what was it? It was like 170 now for three or something. It went to lunch, and then it rained, so they came out late for lunch. I think play started again at 4:20, and they needed 7 wickets. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. Now we're I don't understand because obviously I had like the win percentage bracket, and Australia was still like England was still favourites to win. I was like, they got 7 wickets and they need like 150 runs.
But
They should have gotten there.
you know what we had in our favour, Sam? The umpires. That ball change changed everything.
Honestly, honestly, I the overhead of watching that the box of balls come out and every single one of them having a bright gold Duke logo. I was like, that is ridiculous. Like that you can't have that. And it was wrong.
It was so
And
wrong.
it looked nothing like it. It was like a ball that probably been used for maybe 10 minutes rather than a few days. And it swung all over the place.
Swung all over the gaff, like massive swing as well. The biggest swing in the series on an England point of view.
Yeah, and that drastically changed the different. And that was a game changer.
Oh,
Like woke bowling was mad. The fact that Moeen Ali was able to get some turn with it was pretty good.
mhm.
Um, yeah, and I 100% that Australia got a bit shafted with that one. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, they did big time, big time. I'll be
I'm
fuming.
surprised. Like, obviously, Labuschagne asked to look at the ball a few tests ago because he wanted to see what it was getting changed to, so he'd know if it was swing or not. The fact that I don't think anyone did. I feel like if one of the batters had checked, they
Mhm.
would have been like, "This is a new ball, mate.
Yeah.
Unwrap this." It may have had more to say, but because it was picked so late on day 4, and there was only like seven overs bowled with it.
Mm.
Nobody really said anything
No.
until that last day, and it was already done. But yeah, I think got one in our favour, and it worked. And I just obviously the news on day 4 that it would be Stuart Broad's last test. Did he say that on day 4 or day 3? He might. I think he said it day 3
He said it on the end of. Oh, yeah, it could have been on the end of day 3, didn't he? Because he was
because I think
going out to bat with Jimmy on the day
yeah,
4. Yeah.
because I remember I was like, oh, he's done this. He's going to bowl really well tomorrow, and then they didn't get a wicket all day. And I was just like, this is great. Nice last test
Yeah.
there for Broad. And then Wokes and Moeen Ali were just tearing through the batting lineup, and I was like, please let Broad come back on and have a bowl. He needs to get at least 1 wicket,
Mm.
and miraculously gets his first wicket. Lovely edge. I think is all he's looking for. I think he bowled the
Oh,
same ball about
to
20
the
times.
left-hander as well. To the left-hander,
Yeah,
always swinging away. Love it.
yeah. Gets the outside edge, place erupts for a wicket, gets his wicket on his last day. Absolute scenes, and the fact that he got the last wicket, I think, is insane.
Fairy tale stuff, mate. Like you said, you text me, didn't you? Fairy tale. Like literally,
Yeah.
like it's
He
unbelievable.
couldn't script it. Like, he hit a 6 with his last ball at batting, and then won the match with a wicket. I think they said he's the only player to ever do that. Obviously, I don't know how many stats there are on that, but the only player to ever hit a 6 with his last ball in cricket and hit a bowl a wicket with his last ball in cricket. But I think he was saying that that was his last over.
Yeah.
Ben Stokes had told him that he was coming off and he was going to get Mark Wood in there again to get some pace in. So the fact that we were almost not going to see that.
No.
Um, so it was fate. It was fate. There's nothing else you could say about it. I think Alex Carey could have left that ball quite nicely, and nothing would have happened.
He knew on that run up that this could potentially be his last ball in Test cricket ever, and I think he did his classic Bale switch, which has somehow become a thing this
I
series.
didn't realise. He said that he thought it was an Australian kind of trick for luck. So he did it again. He did it in was it a test before or like the innings before?
yeah.
He hadn't got a wicket for ages. He switched the bails and the next ball gets to like Steve Smith out or something. It's just like it works. So I'm gutted we didn't know that was a thing when we play cricket. I would have done
No,
it all
no,
the
it
time.
would. You know how many kids up and down the country now are going to be doing that?
We were
Like,
doing
it's
it
literally mental.
100%. Ah,
But
it
yeah,
was
what a guy, what a bloke.
mm,
And then he gets, as Sam said, the last ball he gets him as well. They gave him an extra over. Series drawn 2-2. Australia obviously retained the Ashes, but I think England morally won the Test series. To be honest, I'm gonna take that.
I think so. I think you can say at the end of the day, England played the best cricket. Um, I think overall, I think the first two tests were our worst tests. Obviously, we lost. But for the next three tests, we were dominant. I think at least mostly dominant. But like it was an odd series. No one player made two centuries
No, no,
in the
there's
whole test. The highest scorer was in the 400s. Like it wasn't the most massive, insane score we've ever seen. Um, and like the wickets wasn't the highest ever. The fact that Chris Wokes is up there and 19
exactly.
wickets, or
He
more than
only
that,
played
yeah.
3 tests.
He
He
only played
kept,
three tests.
yeah,
I think his economy was like 18, which is
nuts.
mad. I think Josh Hazelwood also only played three tests,
Yeah,
got a few wickets less, and his economy was like 50. I was like, it's mad.
always.
Um, so I think Chris Wokes certainly, certainly deserved player of the series. I
I
mean,
think
for somebody who came in so late and made so much of an impact, he
I think
was.
I think that's the key impact. I think Mark Wood had such a massive impact in Leeds, but
Hmm.
Chris Wokes on a whole, over the last three, he had probably a bigger impact than Mark Wood.
Yeah,
Um,
even in that third test, um, Chris Wokes got a good amount of wickets and he scored the winning runs. And Mark Wood was touted as the better player, and I was like,
yeah,
Chris Wokes has some bits here,
been
but
harsh
don't.
right there.
Yeah, very much so. So I think I'm glad he got the credit he deserved there.
Yeah, 100%. There's a couple honourable mentions: Zach Crawley, Usman Khawaja, even Stuart Broad, if you want to
Mm.
throw him in morally. But Chris Wokes, I don't think you can really complain, to be honest,
No.
at that one. As we wrap this episode up, do you have a moment in particular of the series for you? Or
It probably has to be Stuart Broad's
yeah,
final wicket, just because of the scenes and just the fairy tale stuff that is. I'd have an honourable mention for Johnny Bairstow's insane catch in that last to
shout
get
out,
Wood
yeah.
Marsh out, just because I feel like that gave him a bit of redemption. Like
Yeah.
the last test, he was flawless. Don't think he dropped one. I think he caught that insane one, batted well. I think he had a bit of redemption in that last test,
Mhm.
and I'm happy that happened. But
Yeah.
yeah, Stuart Broad, I think number one.
I think same here for me. I don't think you really can compete. That fairy tale send off was like stuff of dreams. You know, you're
Yeah,
never gonna. When he said, "I'm gonna go out on the top," like you don't get much better than that, do you?
no,
And then honourable mention for me, probably the Zach Crawley four off the first ball of the Ashes. I think that just I was watching it and in anticipation, pretending to work, and just
yeah,
saw that four, and the crowd just erupted. I was like, "This is going to be an amazing 6 weeks of cricket." And also, like kind of like you said about Johnny Bairstow, I like the redemption story.
yeah,
Zach Crawley was so close to being dropped from the Test side.
yeah,
Basboard and Stokes come in, they gave him some confidence, and then he ended up just shy of top run scorer. So
yeah,
I do like Zach Crawley for that.
yeah.
I guess we should touch on England being deducted points from the Test Championship, which is
For Australia, like
and
they've both been an insane amount of points. I think we've got to like what 18 points or something, like 10 points.
19. No, no, we got 19.
Is that what we were on? And then we were deducted 10.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't understand it. Like we were fined for the over rate in a test that was rained off. How does it make any sense?
No, I
And I
don't.
think the over rate is difficult because I think what Joe Root was saying, like, why don't we bowl as many bowls as we can? And there was good light in the summer here
Mhm.
for a long time, well after 7.
Yeah, Yeah.
So I think he's got a point. If we're able to bowl the balls, bowl the balls. And this, and even despite the slower, I don't really understand enough about the slow over rate to.
It doesn't seem, for
Mm,
someone who doesn't know the rules, like, in that in depth, like, it doesn't seem like it's achievable though. It seems like so many teams are getting fined for slow over rate, not just England, but Australia too, and
yeah,
probably other teams in the World Test Championship table. But is it achievable? Like, what, like, it doesn't seem possible to actually do it.
no, I don't know. I think having an over rate is weird. I think you just bowl as many balls as you can that day and
Yeah.
see where you get to. Obviously, don't take the piss.
No.
There's an element of that. Obviously, with I think what Australia did, they like pretended to move people around for 10 minutes
Yeah.
while so they didn't have to bat again the same day. But that's a bit of like there was only going to be a few more overs that day. It doesn't make any difference. But in the grand scheme of things, it didn't detract from a series. Like, it didn't
No.
make the series awful.
Boring. And I think teams that play with part-time spinners or
Mm.
not a frontline spinner, they're at a disadvantage because obviously if you're bowling, the pace bowler who's got a longer run up, if you're bowling a spinner, they can get through the overs so quick, which is why
Yeah,
teams like India who have two or three spinners probably are hitting,
rattle through them.
yeah, rattle through these overs. But when you haven't got a spinner and you've got Mark Wood who steams in and has to get his breath back to do the running
Yeah,
again, I don't know. It just seems a little bit unfair from my point of
yeah,
view.
yeah. Um, yeah, it's just one of those. I don't really understand it, and I think that the penalty's harsh, like 10 points.
That's a lot.
I know it's like a 2 year thing, the Test Championship, but yeah, it's not a great way to start it for England there.
Are we gonna
Or
see?
Australia.
Are we gonna see Jimmy back in
I
England?
think so. I don't think he's close to it. I think like he purposely didn't go out in the kind of guard of honor for Broad.
No.
Um, I think he's still up for it. I think it wasn't his best. It wasn't his best series. I think it was a shame that he didn't do better. Um, he got a few wickets, not enough. I don't think. Not enough. I don't think to warrant him being in most of the
Mm.
squads. I think first, yes, put him in there. He got some wickets to be fair in the first game, but then he kind of teetered off a bit.
Yeah.
And I feel like you take him out for maybe Chris Wokes. I feel like he's his natural next in line is probably Chris Wokes bowl similar to him.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it was a shame. I think I'm hoping he gets to 700 wickets.
Yeah. I'm hoping he can, get past Shane Warne at number two.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and he'll get a number two and then retire. I think
retire.
that's hopefully where we'll go to.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed.
All right. That sums up this Ashes special. Test cricket's back. We love
Oh,
it.
and gone again. Don't have another one till January.
I'm gone again. Yeah. Next up is India in the New Year. So yeah, can't wait for that one. Bazball is back. Will team try
I
to
call
copy it?
it.
Will team try to copy it? I have no idea. But yeah, that wraps up this cricket podcast. A little bit different, but me and Sam have been obsessed this summer
Oh
with
yeah.
the series of events. We will hopefully be back covering Premier League and the NFL, which is in September. But yeah, we'll keep you updated on that one. And we might have a bit of a Premier League special next week with the Corridor of Uncertainty lads. So keep
Oh
your
yeah.
eyes peeled for that one. But yeah, have a good weekend. Enjoy the weekend of sport, and we'll catch you again next time in a bit.